Everything we know, from people and ants to stars and galaxies to quarks and atoms, the entire universe, might just be a simulation running inside a supercomputer inside an even bigger universe. Ancient philosophers said that the universe is a dream that we're waiting to wake up from. In this dream world of the imagination, anything is possible. All cultural items, from the dreams of our rodent-like ancestors, to books, to television shows, are merely permutations of the reality we think we live in. Today's age of computers and video games places simulations at the center of our cultural consciousness. A select group of us perform simulations for fun and profit, and we call them games, role-playing and otherwise. We live to run simulations. Join us on the Simulationist podcast as we explore our culture of simulations.
Hello out there in the blogosphere, I should say the podcastosphere, everyone. This is the Simulationist iteration number 43. Today is the 30th of June, 2013.
That makes this Canada Day Eve, or if you would like, the 1.6 Minecraft release patch Eve.
1.6 Minecraft Eve. Well, maybe we can talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk a little bit about World of Warcraft.
I think there's going to be a bit more than just a little bit on World of Warcraft.
Okay, yes, this episode may be World of Warcraft heavy. We have three of us with us. We haven't heard Troy's voice yet. We have Troy Moore with us at the table. Say hi.
Good evening, everyone.
Okay, and we have me, as usual, Joshua Trelevin, and we have our
Ryan Kirkby in the opposing corner.
Yeah. There we go. That's all of us introduced, and let's see. What should we get to? We should get to what we've been up to shortly in the world of games and gaming and stuff like that. Let's see. Who should? Well, Troy, you're the guest. What have you been up to with like games and stuff like
in the last week or so?
Well, I downloaded Rift again, and again, I'm not playing it. I ding 90 with my Paladin, my Alliance Paladin. So that's my second 90 in Pandaria on the Alliance side. I've got a Horde Mage who's kind of sitting there wondering when I'm going to get back to playing her. But
well, that's the thing. I mean, you can only play one tune at a time, and each one feels fun to play when you're doing it right. So.
Well, and it's been so long since Wrath of the Lich King, which was my favorite expansion.
Oh, yes.
And so I had a Hunter sitting at 70, so I grabbed a Hunter and I started playing through the old Wrath stuff.
So tell me, did you load up all the old macros and see if you can find the rare beast to catch, or like the protoform?
I shut off my my add-ons that tell me when there's a rare around, because there's nothing worse than being on a flight path and spotting the time lost proto-drake, which I've done twice. I've done it twice while I was on a flight path, and the only time I saw it when I wasn't on a flight path, I was on a level 72 druid, which would have got pasted by that thing in about 5 seconds.
See, that's why I never took any of the flight paths that took me through that zone, just because I was so paranoid of it. It's like, well, what if I see him? What if I see him? No.
Yeah. I've got a perfect solution to that. I Alt-Tab and I go into Facebook, and then I tab back, and I'm landed.
But I figure now would be the perfect time to actually catch those rares when they spawn up, because so many people are in the other zones these days.
That was so until the cross-realm zones came in.
Oh, yes.
Now, anytime a zone is low on population, they just... I'm not 100% sure on how cross-realm zones do, but they'll join realms into one zone.
Oh.
So, in a lot of cases, you actually have more than you did last expansion in that zone.
Darn you, Blizzard, you've stopped my plans for getting all those rares once again.
Yeah. But on the other hand, it makes some zones that used to be fun, that were dying, fun again. Because you can go in, you can hang out around Silver Moon City, and there's actually people there.
Not just the role players.
No, actually, I don't even see many of them anymore.
Oh, my server used to be lousy with them. On the other hand, they had a nice bar. They set up a bar on Sundays, and you could actually go to them, and you'd actually get the beer that you wanted, and you RP with them.
I wonder if maybe the role players went to the Worgen zone.
That
be a good
is,
place for 'em.
there's a lot of roleplay goes on there because they didn't really do anything with that zone after the. And I mean, the Worgen starting area is instanced, and then when you go back to the zone, there's nothing there. Like originally, it was supposed to be a PvP area.
That's what I've been told. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I thought it would have been an awesome, an urban PvP area would have been great, but.
Then again, they also told us there'd be new dances around that time too, and I'm still waiting on them.
Well, the dance studio, who knows? Maybe they put the dance studio in, and it's like downstairs in a place in Morgantown.
It's at the very top of Black Rock Spire. They're just waiting for someone to actually go back there and get everything done.
Yeah.
Devious. And yet, with Blizzard, I actually wouldn't put that past them. They like that sort of thing.
Blizzard does like to have hidden little things.
Oh, yes.
In the game. I don't know if you guys have ever listened to the podcast Warcraft Less Traveled.
I've listened to an episode.
It takes you to all the hidden and unknown places with special meanings around. There.
I know I've hunted a few myself that I found off of the wikis, but I've never purposefully gone out to find everything.
This covers just about everything. Like, have you ever heard about the creepy children in Goldshire?
Well, trust me, all of Goldshire can get pretty creepy, but
especially on a role-playing server.
Yes.
There is these kids, and I think it's the house where the fishing trainer is.
Oh, yes, I remember that one, yeah.
The kids, they go out of that house, and they walk out into the forest, sit in a pentagram, do some chants, and then they all walk back to that house and go upstairs.
Oh, creepy.
Oh,
and they do this several times each day.
I'm going to have to look into that next time I'm there.
Have you ever...
Actually, yeah, I could do that because it's for free. It's in the first 20 levels. I could easily go there and look at that.
Mulgore is also in the first 20 levels. Have you ever met a Mulgore battle squirrel?
Oh, yes, I remember seeing them up in the that one peninsula up in the very north end. And you got the skull-headed squirrels, and you've got the dual pistol wielding.
Yeah, and they're wearing World War I German army helmets.
Yeah, that is so weird.
To our listeners who are looking weird at their speakers right now, if you go onto a plateau between Mulgore and the Stone Talon Mountains, there are animals who normally just scurry around. Critters, squirrels, gophers.
And rats, I think.
And rats.
Yeah.
And a couple of times per hour, they go to war.
Yeah.
And they don army helmets, they have pistols, and they start fighting each other.
And there's no rhyme, no reason to it. It's not part of any lore, not part of any quest. It's just weird.
I think an intern was left in Blizzard's office over the weekends and said, you know what would be fun? And it got into the game before anyone could take it out, and they thought, yeah, we'll leave it there.
I like some of the old stuff that's no longer in there, like the No Man's Land area that they had. You'd have to... It was where technically any Alliance character spawned for just a split second when their character was created. They'd be spawned there, and then they'd be routed to their proper location as the FMV sequence is going. But to get there, you'd have to go to the Forsaken starting zone, swim all the way around counterclockwise down to just around the area for Stormwind. And there'd be just a cottage, and there'd be some broken down stuff. And then if you're paying attention, you'd see them flick in and then flick out just for that instance. Like just a ghost flickering. And there was nothing else on that. And that's just apparently just a creepy little spot. I went there. I have some photos taken of my character, but it no longer exists because they revamped the old maps.
Yeah, we lost a lot of areas like that. Well, not so much lost them, but they lost the magic. Like there was
not that anybody could fly there.
There was that valley between the Burning Steps and Elwyn Forest that were elevated. You flew over it during the flight path, but there was no obvious way to get in there. There was a way if you jumped just the right
hit those
in the Burning
ledges.
Steps.
Yes.
And you can just grab it. And once I got up there with my paladin, it was awesome. And I was screenshotting everything. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And, 6 months later, Cataclysm came and you could fly up there. And it's like, But it was cool to go up there and, you'd fish. I don't think I caught anything.
On the other hand,
you
there's
look
some
around in the tents and stuff.
There is some interesting stuff that made it into the official lore. Like, I think there's an Alliance flight path for the Dark Shore and one of the neighboring zones. If when you're going over there, you see a bunch of trolls in a small area you can't really reach, and they're dancing. Officially, they joined the Horde, and that's where the troll druids come from.
Yeah.
That's them. If you're playing a troll druid, that's where you come from. So that's kind of nice when they decide to make it completely official and add it in.
Yeah, they did that with Ironforge Airport too, but nothing really happens there.
No, and there's a quest for it.
Sure,
and
what
then
they
you're
were
gone.
going for, because, well, lower Ironforge they opened up because that's where Magni sit and crystallized. Yeah. But they could have done more with that, because in lore, Ironforge has 5 or 6 levels going underground, and we only see 2 of them now. It would be interesting to be able to access the other levels of Ironforge, even just to hang out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think they're going to save that for something big, like an instance or something there.
That would be interesting.
Don't know exactly how they're going to make that work lore-wise for the Horde being able to get in and trash things. But I think they're saving that. That's one of their big, ticket cards they're holding back. They've got, this expansion, that expansion, and it's a good couple instances, and whenever they feel, this just isn't enough, bam, lower levels of Ironforge. There's an instance, everyone goes nuts over it, and everyone pokes around into all the corners possible and enjoys it.
That is quite possible, because in Cataclysm we had the Dark Irons take over Ironforge.
Yes.
And now in Pandaria, we have the Council of the Three Dwarves running Ironforge, and in one of the scenarios in Pandaria, it takes place in Dunmurrow. And Varian is asking for help to chase these Zandalari who have invaded Dunmurrow.
That's another story arc I wouldn't mind hearing more about, as the Zandalari.
The Bronzebeards won't join him, because they say, well, if we go, the Dark Irons will turn on the Wildhammer, and they'll take over Ironforge again. And the Wildhammer said, well, we can't go, because if we leave the Bronzebeards alone, the Dark Irons will knock them out and take over Ironforge again.
So they're effectively stuck there in a stalemate.
Until, what was her name? She became queen of the...
Moira. Yes.
Moira steps forward and says, I will help you, and we'll show you what the Dark Irons are made of, and that we can be a reliable ally. So Moira and Varian lead you on this quest, this 3-man scenario. It's when you hit 90, you automatically get this quest, and you go, and it's called Blood in the Snow, and you're trying to chase the Zandalari out of.
See, I like the concept, but I'm not sure how much I personally like it, because whenever I was doing the old runs, I always made sure Moira died first when I was fighting her. So, lore-wise, for my personal tunes, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Maybe I just severely wounded her. I don't know. But I always made sure to snag her, because just another target. Make sure to kill her before you kill the Dark Iron King. Otherwise, you don't get a chance to kill her. And then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Let her live? Ugh.
Well, if you did, it turns out that,
You get those jewels, I think it is. But by the time I was going through there and soloing the instance, the jewels didn't mean a lot to me. So I'm okay with ganking her and then
I just
him.
went down there to smelt Dark Iron.
Yes, I made sure to get some of that stuff myself when I could.
Now that's the only place you can get it anymore.
Yeah, I know. It's almost tragic, but I've got enough stored away in my bank vault. I'm okay.
I made a lot of money selling that stuff to people who thought it was no longer in the game. Because I had a vault full of it, and I was selling, a stack of 20 bars for 2,000 gold.
Nice.
I spent it all, but...
Well, of course. That's the fun of money, is spending it.
Yeah.
We should get around to
yes.
what let's see what Brian has been up to, just in gaming, in the world of gaming.
Well, the little adventure thing I got for Shadowrun from Free RPG Day caught my interest back in Shadowrun, and I've been looking at some of the older materials I've got. I pick up a couple things here and there. I've got some old stuff I got from a friend, and I was reading through it, and I made an interesting discovery. the mechanics have changed, so you can't rely on the mechanics they present there, but there's so much fluff, so much story in each of the books, it's all fully valid. It's, even though it's 3 editions out of date, it's completely legitimate. It's considered as good. It's not in print, so good luck trying to find it for any new players getting in there. But it suddenly hit me as this is a wonderful way, especially now that everybody can rely on PDFs. You download it when you need it, and there's an infinite amount of copies, effectively.
Yeah.
That if you want to maintain the product desirability, even if you're increasing your editions as you're making your game better, fluff is the answer.
Okay,
fluff, style, and
fluff
fashion
will give you that longevity. I wonder, it's maybe not the best business decisions because you want people to be buying your latest stuff. Usually that's what you push. So.
Well, but here's the other thing, is I looked at a few of my products, and they all mention this event happening. The Arcology in downtown Seattle that was built by Renraku Corporation closes down. No one gets in or out. No one knows what the heck is going on inside there. And every once in a while, whenever you're talking about the corporations, Renraku's mentioned, and they mention the whole Arcology closed down. There's no explanation given. But every time they mention that, even though it's newer products, I want to find out what happened. They have an adventure for that.
So there is a product.
There is a product for it. If they had it on PDF, it would still be getting decent sales because they keep mentioning it. It's every time they mention it in passing, although it's fluff, it's still a subtle advertisement for the product.
And it's so easy to take the, if you've got it in PDF anyway, to put it in an ebook format, throw it on Amazon, charge $2.99 for it, and I mean, on Amazon you're making like 60% profit.
Exactly.
And you don't have to worry about the cost of putting anything into print or distributing it. It's so easy, one-click buying.
A very business-savvy game designer could come up with a very long-term, productive, and profitable series just by making sure they include enough fluff, enough story, and enough desire for people to find out what's going on. To say there's this wonderful incident, there's this mysterious thing, there's a product that has it, you don't need to have it. If you want to say the Arcology closed down because there's a virus and it's automatically shut down and anybody who opens up will wind up dying because it's still pretty lethal. That's all you need to have. In your story, that's all you need to put. But if you really want to find out what's going on there, the official storyline, there's a product for you.
Yeah, well, this works nowadays because we have the whole electronic means of distribution. It might not have worked 10, 20 years
Back
ago.
in 1998 when 3rd edition was out and about.
When it first came out when Shadowrun was first being
Which
produced.
is actually kind of ironic because Shadowrun predicted the use of electronic files and sharing and how often you can do it within their matrix system. So for someone who predicted the future very accurately in that regard, they really didn't follow through to make sure they could capitalize on it, which is a weird quirk of fate. But yes, that's what caught my interest this week, and that's where I focused my creative and gaming energies.
Oh, very good.
How about you?
Tell you about my gaming exploits. Well, various things. I mean, just playing my normal Minecraft world, grinding away on things like that, mining coal as usual. But of course, I've also been spamming the refresh button on the Mojang website because we're waiting for that new update that we talked about.
It's projected to be tomorrow.
Yes.
Start of tomorrow? End of tomorrow? I don't know.
So I'm looking forward to playing with the horses and riding horses and taming horses.
I'm actually looking more forward to the mules and the stuff that can carry the loads for you, and that'll be kind of nice.
Yes, and pack mules and everything like that. So yes, the game is becoming better. Well,
I still don't know how I'll ever get them to my Mushroom Island, but whatever. That's something to worry about later. Horses can swim, right?
They don't swim very well, actually. This has been pointed out on the forums. It's difficult to get a horse across water, but
you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them swim effectively.
As of the last update, animals can go through the portal, so you can go to the Nether and build a railway and have your animal travel under the sea via hell. Yeah.
You know what? This water is just taking too long. I'm taking my horse to hell where it's quicker.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to put out the fire.
So it's like taking Air Canada instead of the cruise ship.
Oh, yeah. Pretty, yeah.
Yes, it's actually a very succinct way of explaining it. But I suppose that's the gamer mentality sometimes. It's easier to go through hell than to take the slow path.
Sometimes it's more fun.
Well, there's that too.
Like I can remember, in the earlier days of World of Warcraft, when you didn't have portals and stuff.
Or the conjoined flight paths at some point too, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get I think it was a level 7 Night Elf Rogue from Darnassus to Stormwind.
Oh, God.
I took the boat to Darkshore, ran through Ashenvale, got killed several times, tried to stealth through the Morshan ramparts, got killed several times, ran across the Badlands and through... all the way to Theramore, getting killed many times on the way.
Yes, the Alliance were really bad.
And then I took the boat to Westfall, or to Wetlands.
Yes, and then you got to work your way across there.
I wasn't going to get killed many, many times again. I'd had enough of that, and I was sure my character's psyche was hurting. So I swam down the coast all the way to Westfall from Wetlands. It took me over an hour. Get on the beach, stealth across Westfall, get to Elwyn Forest, and then run all the way to Stormwind. And I had a friend who was a mage who says, "Why didn't you call me?" And I'm like, "Because that's not as much fun."
Exactly.
There you go. I think I did that too. Wow, it's years ago, but...
I remember making just after the 5th death, trying to get to one of those flight points, I decided, you know what, this is hurting, it's going to cost me too much money. I'm corpse hopping. Strip myself down to the skivvies. And so there's in the middle of the the Searing Gorge and all that, just effectively a naked Tauren running and dying, popping up, running and dying. And I'm sure anybody who saw me must have laughed and known exactly what was going on, because I was only level 18 at the time, and I had not much else to do. I was doing the free play at the time for the week, and you know what? I'm going to catch the flight points before my week's up. Let's see how much fun I can have doing that. And that's one of the reasons I decided to eventually invest the $15 a month in there and enjoy
the rest. In my opinion,
of it.
it's one of the funnest parts of the game is exploring.
It's a little bit of a shame that they have by the time you're the right level, you get the automatic flight point now.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there were some other way flight points that were a little
It's
annoying.
the same with any MMO, in my opinion. Like... I've got Star Wars: The Old Republic, and I haven't gotten around to playing it again. But the only reason I'm really thinking of doing it is because they have multiple planets, and I just thought, exploring one...
nooks and crannies.
Yeah, going from planet to planet. It's just like, make me a level 20 and I'll just wander around doing stuff. I don't care about lightsabers and... I
have been told they have some very good quest lines in there, though, too. So you can apparently really get into your character and enjoy the storyline.
Well, that would be good.
I haven't done it myself, though. It's on my list of things to do when I get the time, which is longer than my arm right now.
I tried it with EVE Online, but I was really disappointed. That's a strange...
It is a very acquired taste, I've been told. If you don't start out immediately liking it, you're going to have to work at liking it. But eventually you will, I've been told.
Yeah. Like, it reminded me of a lot of the, single-player games that I used to play, where you're exploring the galaxy and you're trading and fighting and building your ship. Mm-hmm. But there was also peculiar things about it, like... You could customize your character right down to what kind of shoes they wear, and when you start playing the game, you only see your character ever from the shoulders up, and I'm like, what's the point?
It's almost like what their shoes look like, though.
But and I know exactly what happened. It's when they were working on the game, they fully intended it to be something where your character will walk around and then someone says, "Okay, you know what? We're going to cut that out." And someone at the meeting said, "But you can pick their shoes." Well, I'd keep that.
Well, it's like with City of Heroes. They positively spoiled us for costume abilities. And I remember spending the time with my character and, okay, I got the hairdo just how I want it, and I got the color right, and there's some nice, underlights and some highlights going on there. It looks great. And then I put a helmet.
Yeah.
And then no hair shown. The helmet's on top. That's it.
That's why I like that little checkbox, show, hide, helm.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is there was no effective costume stuff for City of Heroes that you get it, and it really helps you out that way. It was just it was all cosmetic, effectively. And if you get yourself a unique piece of item, that's just one more thing you can use for your character design. But I had all the fun time getting all these little things done. It's like, okay, I got the boots done right here, and I got to make sure they're the right lace types I like. I think fits the character. Jeans go over top. Bam. Don't see anything but just the brown bottom of the boot. That's it.
If I can put a plug in for Minecraft again, all you have to do in Minecraft is you have about, 64 pixels that you can color different colors, and that's your skin. And that's...
It is a little easier that way.
Of course,
until you download
again,
the
I have not played Minecraft. So 64 pixels?
Well,
does it look like a Rock'em Sock'em Robot, kind of?
Fairly
it's
close,
kind of like
actually,
a paper doll and full. Well, depending, you can get programs that you can draw right on your model, but it basically looks like an unfolded paper doll in your image program, and then you color in the pixels, and then it folds back onto the model of your character. So it's very.
And if you did it right, it looks good. If you did it wrong, your face is upside down.
Yeah, that can happen.
Maybe you want to keep it that way.
Sounds a lot like the earlier races in Warcraft. Like the dwarves and the humans are just
They were crudely designed compared to the more modern stuff.
Well, when you get into even the Burning Crusade stuff, the Blood Elves look pretty good, and
they have so much more points of articulation, so their dances are a little bit smoother. They're when they make those choo-choo stuff, it looks a little bit better.
Although I still really, really despise anyone who does the choo-choo thing. That's why I always buy the Train Breaker.
Yeah.
What, the Train Breaker?
Well, there's a thing you'd get is that you put down the train, and anybody in the local area would wind up going choo choo chugga 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 chugga.
Okay.
And you put that, people would put that down in the middle of the
every Alterac Valley you're going to experience.
You get 40 people doing it all at once.
Okay.
Or they do it in the middle of the where everyone's trading. They put it down in the bank in the auction houses. And it'd just be groups of people all doing it, and it would just be so annoying.
Okay.
They came up with the Train Breaker toy, just to get people a way to not spam them. This is hurting me.
And do you have to pay for this, gold for it?
Yes, but it's worth every bit of gold.
Every copper, baby.
There's a lot of cool stuff for sale in Dalaran if you want to go up there and have a look.
Oh well, I'll have to do that because I'm back into playing, but I haven't played. I've looked around, but that's about it. Yeah.
So here's a fun thing for you. Would you be okay with the old characters if they re-articulated them and made it to the better standards they currently have?
Well, they actually already have that, because any race can be a monk, and in order to be a monk, they have to have that new skeleton that can articulate in ways that the old ones never did. But they've got the same skin. So my paladin still looks like he has an awful hairlip, but he's still the least ugly human I could make.
Because
male human, anyway.
Because I was remembering my Tauren, and the few times when he was able to open his mouth, it did not look like a mouth. It looked like someone just slit him in the middle of the face, and the whole thing just opens, and there just happened to be a tongue.
It looks like Terrence and Phillip almost.
Yes, it's just like a flappy head doll thing. It's creepy and not good. But you see the elves speaking, and then they have much more cheek points to move, and so it looks like they're actually speaking when they do, as opposed to just flapping mouth.
Yeah. Elf with a flapping mouth wouldn't quite seem right.
I wonder though. I mean, you talk about it in glowing terms, but I wonder if in 2 or 3 years, if somebody's listening to this podcast, they're like, "What? The elves of 2013 looked good? Are you kidding?"
Yeah.
Well, it's always that's the thing is, it's always a bit of a sliding scale as time goes on. That's why the old models look so much cruder compared to the new ones. You got to keep upgrading everything as it goes on, otherwise you're left behind.
And with characters like the humans, it was even worse because especially the male humans, they wanted to give them those chiseled looks, and they actually do look really chiseled right now. Whereas you look at the pandas and the facial expressions they're able to have, it's almost like what you see in the cinematic.
Oh yeah.
I would love that for my Tauren, I'll say that.
But, I mean, essentially they're, Kung Fu pandas, so that's something I have a hard time really getting all that excited about.
Speaking of Kung Fu pandas, sort of the topic we're going into podcast today to sort of be our main topic is sort of a big one, but it's basically tearing apart the latest expansions, Cataclysm and Pandaria, the World of Warcraft, and seeing what works and what doesn't, and what our opinions of it are, sort of thing. We were talking about pandas
and the various other animal type people that happen to inhabit the World of Warcraft.
I guess there were Worgen, and now there's pandas. What else is there going to be?
Well, I mean, they started off with cow people, so it's not like this is an unprecedented thing.
No.
I must admit, though, I would like to see some better articulation on some of the NPCs. I always thought the Quillbores had something going for them. They seemed like a decent mid-level threat, and they had 2 instances for them. And I would really like to see them combined with a Grim Totem into something as a nice instance. Because I really want to get Magatha Grim Totem. I want to get her head up on a wall, man. And I hated her.
They may have missed a opportunity for that when they flooded Thousand Needles. You had the opportunity to make refugees out of these creatures at a time when you were remaking nearby zones like Desolus. That was there in Feralis. Those were always interesting zones. They drew you in, but when you got there wasn't a lot there.
No,
there could be a lot more lore in there, and throwing more Quillbore into there and making them into more than just a little bit of filler in one corner of a zone would have been interesting.
I would have really liked it. I mean, heck, right now with 1,000 Needles, you could just have a wonderful a tiered style instance. Bottom level for the mid guys
with naval battles.
Yeah, some naval stuff there. You go up to the mid level, and you've got if you finished enough quests in the zone, there's your wonderful, nice little instance. You can have fun in there. Top part of it, that's the level cap instance they have, and that's where you actually fight. We'll say an undead Magatha Grim Totem with Forsaken, Quillbore allies.
Yeah, or you could. With the ocean flooding into Thousand Needles, you could bring the Naga and the Quillbore together. Are they going to be allied? Are they going to be...
I think they're jerk enough for each other to really be good enemies.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course a bunch of drowned undead centaurs.
That would be interesting.
I could dig it.
Because that's what the game needs right now, is more undead. They don't have... I mean,
or at least a little bit more variety to them. I mean, we saw the stuff in Northrend, and it followed a nice theme. But when it comes to undead and your generic faceless, personless masses, a little more variety really goes a long way.
Yeah, and right now the game is suffering from a little bit of a... it's a little too cutesy. When you're leveling, until you hit, 88, 89, and you're meeting those insect people. There's not a lot of evil there. Yeah, okay, there's the Shaw of hatred and stuff, but what these Shaws are really is just a manifestation of bad feelings. It's like Dr. Phil was consulting on this when they were doing it. And
just by
when you've driven undead from the plague lands, and when you stop the Lich King's onslaught of skeletons, like when just before Wrath launched, you'd be walking around Stormwind, and all of a sudden there's a giant elite skeleton in the path in front of you that just came out of nowhere, and you gathered a group and you defeated him. Now suddenly pandas are having problems with their bad feelings. It's just not quite as epic.
There is that, I will say. There's something to be said about having a different style of evil to don't break up monotony of, it's malevolent bad. This is your personal badness being manifested.
Yeah, but we had Deathwing for that.
Yeah.
He was just a bad dude who wrecked the planet.
I don't know. I never got into Deathwing the same way I got into the Lich King.
Well, no, because Deathwing was almost ethereal. He was never around. Like, even
from that,
when he got the achievement, stood in the fire where you were killed by Deathwing.
I didn't even know I got that. I was in the Plaguelands. I was underwater. I was getting some stuff for a quest. Why is it changing color up there? Did they have a new sunset?
Dead, right?
I come up and died.
Exactly.
The fire was all over the water, and apparently,
if Deathwing had swooped down and started breathing fire on people, and you had to take cover, and you didn't, and he got you,
I would have loved it if he was like
that would have been great.
Invulnerable NPC that goes like, I'm focusing on this area, and I'm going to kill all the PCs. I would have dug that, man. I would have dug running and cowering like I was just some first-level peasant.
Like the rifts in Rift, where a zone becomes under attack by, a different dimension.
That's what I liked about the Lich King when they were starting that stuff up.
He was always messing with you. He'd show up on this quest and that quest, and you'd think, there's a Lich King, let's get him. No, you're not ready yet. And then he'd disappear, and...
I do think they did that a little bit too much.
Yeah.
I think that's why with Deathwing they didn't have him show up quite so often.
Well, that's what Blizzard tends to do. They go from one extreme to the other. It's like in Wrath, the Lich King, it was almost like he was insecure, and he wanted to, let you know he's still there. I'm still here. I'm still a bad guy. I'm still going to ruin the world.
You can't actually fight me in the instance, but oogie boogie boogie.
Yeah, and they take off. And then Deathwing, it's like... Deathwing was almost like a legend. It's like, really? Deathwing?
Well, what I really did like seeing a lot of pop-up time again was Cho'Gall. I really liked seeing him, and because he had those eyes that were just looking around in random places.
That was creepy.
You see him, and it's like, whoa, which way is he actually? Is he looking at me, or are these just random eyes?
And you had to wonder. It's like, I can see why this guy's not in the desert.
Yeah,
He couldn't do dust.
And I really hope he had good eyesight before he started mutating. Otherwise, that's a lot of contact lenses.
Oh, yeah.
But so that's the interesting thing I like about Blizzard is they learn their lessons and they improve upon that.
They do, although they do have a tendency to overcompensate. We saw that at the beginning of Cataclysm. During Wrath, a lot of people were complaining that the game was getting too casual. And if you look at it carefully, you can tell there are two distinct factions in Blizzard. There's the lore faction, and there's the mechanics faction. Now, the mechanics faction clearly favors the hardcore, the raiders. 6 nights a week, 4 hours every night. And because, the people who work there, the game designers... and the developers, they come from that mentality. I mean, that's why they're in that business.
Oh, yeah.
But they, if that is the faction inside Blizzard holding sway, which was what happened when Cataclysm launched, and suddenly we were going into instances, just regular instances, not heroics, where I was seeing experienced people who had played together for years wiping in regulars to the point where they were getting frustrated. And... a lot of people were quitting the game because they said, this is just ridiculous. But
here's the thing that always got me, is apparently they keep saying that the hardcore raiders, the 40-man groups they used to have, only comprises about 5% of the gaming
but that's a
population.
Very noisy 5%.
It is a noisy 5%, but here's the other bit.
And they find the mistakes and holes in the game, too.
Oh, yes.
But
so
okay,
they're good for patching up things before everybody gets a chance to experience it. But... they got rid of the class-specific quests because not enough people were using it. There's 10 classes. Only one class can use this quest. We're spending time on something 1/10 of the population gets. That's twice as many as the hardcore raiders that were demanding we have these hard instances. Why don't they have more class quests? Because twice as many people are using that as there are the hardcore raiders.
Yeah, and what happened was not very soon after the launch of Cataclysm, when the numbers were already dropping, they swung wildly into the other way, and they nerfed everything to the point where the heroics were a walkthrough. And it was so backwards from what it should have been. Like, they could have said, okay, we're gonna make instances harder, and gradually ramped it up from the beginning and made it really, really hard at the end. But they made it really hard at the beginning, frustrated the casuals who just says, well, this game isn't for us anymore. And so they started losing subs, like, okay, massive overreaction, nerf everything. Now the hardcore people are ticked off because, they're dumbing down the game. So really what they managed to do is do everything backwards and anger everyone.
That was a big blunder on their part. But I always figured it should be that the 5-man instances should be more for casuals, and if you can get yourself the 10 or 25-man, those are for the hardcore people. And I was okay with that.
Or like you have the 5-man regular should be essentially a walkthrough. It's
not too challenging. The tactics aren't required to be a particular.
The whole point is to view the story.
Yeah.
It's like looking for raid is now.
Yes.
It's not for hardcore raiders. It's
as they get their
from the
gear
beginning,
up, sort of thing. Yeah.
But it's not even supposed to be that. There's other paths to gear. People have made it essential because they think they have to. But really, what looking for raid is about seeing the end of the storyline. And then above that, you can have your heroic level, which is hard. And don't complain about heroics being hard, because that's why they're heroic.
Yes.
That's always made sense to me.
Virtue of their name.
I noticed that in Burning Crusade when I first started doing, level 70 dungeons. And it's like, okay, you go through the regulars, are pretty easily, and then you hit heroic, and it's like getting hit in the face with a sledgehammer. And that's why it's heroic, and that's why amazing gear drops in there. But I don't think in looking for raid, I don't think hardly any gear should drop, because really all it's supposed to be about is seeing the end of the story.
Especially when they give you that nerf now, the buff whenever you wind up wiping, and you can keep getting that applied until you're just power on through.
Yeah, and what a lot of people, I think, wind up doing is just, okay, we're going to wipe 3 times, then we're going to go.
Everybody's stripped down, we're going to die quickly 3 times, and then we're going to really power.
But I will say, like, one of the things I did when I was playing lower level instances, is somebody, like, I don't know if this is still allowed, but somebody of, like, level 80 or something, I guess this would be in Lich King era, would lead my 20th level character through a 40th level or something like that instance, and they would just kill everything.
Power level you.
Well, yeah, and that was never fun for me, because I wanted to actually play it.
Yeah.
No, and I've done that within our guilds too, and I'd be a level 30, and it's like, oh, okay, well, let's go, or say level 20. Oh, well, I'm level 20. I want to do dead mines before I get any higher.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll grab my 85 and I'll run you through, and it's like, that's no fun. Like, you guys, if you guys want to run through with our low-level characters, let's have fun and do it. I don't want to watch you solo it. I mean...
Although if you just want to experience what happens in the Dead Mines, I suppose it's okay. It's like, I just want to get the end of the storyline I've been following. Could you help me out with that? And then I'm never coming back. I don't care.
Well, but no, well, I suppose you're allowed to peek at the end of a last chapter of a book if you want, or so.
But that's the thing about a book. There's not a chance for you to fail the chapter and have to start over again. Although that could be a pretty interesting book. A quiz at the end of every chapter. You fail too many questions, you got to go back and read it again. Might be something there. There's a pin I'm putting in for that. There's a nice interactive story to work out.
Yeah. If you read it and you pay attention and you get all the little hints, then there's a code that will unlock the next chapter.
The hidden chapter. Wow. So the chapters aren't properly numbered or sequenced. It becomes a very, very basic but very long bit of the Choose Your Own Adventures. Very interesting.
Wow, I think we just invented something.
Yes. Or at least tweaked an old idea.
Tune in next week.
But, okay, here's the thing, though, because I really liked Wrath of the Lich King, and that's when they came up with the Looking for Group, and I just had a blast of a time. Just, okay, random instance, and then I just go through once a week, and I go through all the instances, and I have fun. It's like, oh, okay, I'm going here, and I remember what to do for these fights. Was I getting better gear? Not really. I was getting stuff to disenchant and sell. My gear was at par or better than. But I enjoyed going through them. I enjoyed having the fun, seeing the person, it's his first time through. Let's see if he gets this trick that happens up here. Oh, he bungled it. That's okay. We'll just kill all the low-level mobs and we'll keep going.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's always fun to
I wish you had been in the group when I was first taking my tank through those things. Because, in a way, I think that Looking for Group
promotes the people, I want to get the gear. I want to get this done right, even though I don't know what to do.
Everybody's fault but mine that we wiped.
Yes.
Because there is really no... like, before, if you got a bad reputation on your server, no one would run with you.
And that was one of the advantages of Looking for Group. You could bungle it horribly until you eventually learn it right, and it's like, that's okay. They're from the Anubarak server. I don't care what they think of me.
And on the other hand, if you make a mistake, you're going to get flamed by some kid from some server you're never going to see again, and that also plays into it, because I can remember before looking for a group, I knew the players who were a pain in the butt and who were always massive drama queens.
There was something to be said about that style.
And we could avoid them. They'd say, "Oh, well,
Dude's a
you're going to
ninja,
go
I
do
know.
Marauding? Oh, I need it." And it's like, yeah, I can remember that time we ran Dead Mines with you, and you pissed and moaned constantly, and
you were like a bad kid in the back seat of a family vacation.
Exactly.
No.
There's a lot of those kids playing Warcraft.
Apparently.
That's why when it comes to tanking and healing, I tend to stay with the guild.
That's one of the reasons why
DPSing, I can sit in the back, fire arrows, and...
That's one of the reasons I avoided doing the tanking and healing for so long, was it just everybody would blame you.
Yeah.
Everybody would blame you.
And then they wonder why there's not enough tanks and healers.
Exactly.
Why is the DPS queue 58 minutes long? Well, it's because you scream and yell every time someone dies.
Of course, I do like how that one signature that keeps repeating through the forums. If the healer dies, it's the tank's fault.
Mm-hmm.
If the tank dies, it's the healer's fault. If the DPS dies, it's their own damn fault. And just use that as your base guideline, and you know what? That
is how I see it. Unfortunately, the DPS don't tend to see it.
No. I do use that as my perspective, though.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I gotta say, I learned so much for some of my alts when I was going through some of those instances. I apparently had no clue how to properly play a healer with some other, or the shadow cleric when there's other people around. I was used to doing them solo. So I go through into this Stratholme instance, and the guy says, no, spam this till you get the 3 orbs, then use that and this. Repeat. And all of a sudden, I'm doing huge DPS. I'm like a mega star. These guys are dropping left, right, center. Just because the one guy said to me, no, do this, do that, do the third thing, good. And I would otherwise have had to have done, the theory craft of actually read up and check, this is the proper thing, and get these towns and make it all work this way.
And that just destroys a lot of the game for me. Like, I don't want to have to watch it on YouTube 20 times and read through it, because I'm in a role-playing game. I'm supposed to be this character going through a story, not, this character has graduated from Warcraft University and he's about to go do something he's been trained to do. No.
I've got my Bachelor of Martial Arts.
Yeah. So the way I do it and try and get around all the drama queens and stuff is I always level a DPS first, run the DPS through all the dungeons, and then I will tank or heal.
That's the only reason I ever tried tanking on a paladin.
Big props to the people who, at the beginning of an expansion, grab their tank and start running dungeons on day one.
Especially the looking for group dungeons. I mean,
well,
it's one thing to do with your party, and with your guild, but oh my goodness, just for the random amounts of anger you're going to get when nobody knows what to do.
With the new expansion, they can always throw in a disclaimer, like, I'm new to this dungeon. Usually that will do it. Or the group will just drop.
Reduces it by about 50%.
Yeah.
You really find out who's the intolerant people after.
Plus, there's some people that they can just switch it off. They're like, yeah, whatever. Kick me if you want. Wait another 50 minutes for a new tank.
Yeah.
But my problem is I am deathly allergic to stupid. And if I get into an instant with someone who's yelling stupid stuff at me, it bothers me. So
yeah, well, and it's usually the chat too. It's not like if they're playing stupid, that's I guess maybe they're not so good at
I
the
can
game.
deal with incompetent people who are good-natured and are having a good time. I cannot deal with someone who's awesome who just is constant drama.
The know-nothing know-it-alls?
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta say, though, when things go wrong, that is when you really do learn the most. I remember one instance, what was it? It was that Dragonfield one for the Dark Iron place back in Cataclysm.
Blackrock Spire.
Ah, yes, that bit there. And something happened, some DPS pulled an extra ad, and all of a sudden everybody's wiping. And I'm on my mage. Dude, I'm wearing tissue paper for armor here. But I managed to pull it off. I know what I'm doing. I'm blasting people because I'm doing the cold mage here, and I start mage tanking. and I do it. I'm the only survivor at the end. I got like 3% health, but that last mob drops, and I survive. And I don't care how the rest of the instance goes. I am feeling like the best damn mage there ever was. But if everybody had done their job properly, I never would have gotten that natural high.
Well, in a situation like that, because I play a hunter, I have feign death, and
that's the cheap way out of it, man.
You know what's really funny is when someone uses feign death in PvP and it works. I have done that probably half a dozen times, feigned death, and had the guy run off thinking he'd killed me. And I'm like, really? Okay, I'm going to follow him around.
There are some fun things about that. To see who buys the bad plots and the bad ideas. Like I remember seeing one group for, I think it was over in the sawmill, Warsong Gulch. They had 3-pack out of the group. They were identical in appearance, as close as they could, because they were doing the reforging thing to make their. And so what they do is they just all run together in a round. So when one person has the flag, they're all running around like that, and people just kept targeting the wrong ones. It's like, okay, it's the undead that looks like this. They click them, and then they start attacking. No, that wasn't the right one. It's a shell game we're playing here.
Sounds almost like a really good multi-boxer.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's what I thought at first, but it was only 3 instead of the full 5, and they were actually moving around and about. So it was more of a, more like a swarm of flies or insects as they go, rather than all at once. And it worked beautifully. It was a surprisingly good tactic. I never saw them after the one instance, but we beat the heck out of them, and it didn't matter how good they turtled. They kept targeting the wrong guys. We get the flag back to our location. Da-da-da-da, we win.
I haven't played Warsong Gulch in such a long time, but speaking of things that Blizzard does well, now when you're doing random battlegrounds in Pandaria, you can flag 2 battlegrounds as ones you hate, and you won't get those. So Strand of the Ancients, which I don't know if anyone plays anymore now, and Warsong Gulch were my 2.
I do miss some of the world PvP stuff. I really liked the Wrath of the Lich King one. It just seemed fun because there was 3 different ways to go about it. You could go offense, defense, almost at random, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the different roles. I enjoyed defending the castle. I enjoyed blowing holes in the wall.
Isle of Conquest. I love that, but that's one of those things that people either really love or they hate. Because Isle of Conquest and Alterac Valley, I could play those all day.
I am a little saddened at the cheapening of Alterac Valley. I kind of liked people working to try and get the bits of flesh to summon the elemental or this and that, and that was something I could really get into. But now it's just rush to the end, capture the flags, get rid of the guy, and then bring down the enemy. And
all we have to do is buff the tower bosses, and that would end. Then it would force people to have to go and gather the flesh and take down every boss. Because now you can kill Ban or Drek, depending on which side you're on. You can kill them with 2 towers standing.
I know, and that's it's. Well, on the other hand, it's nice to see people at least trying that as opposed to doing it methodically, take everyone out, then go. But I miss it sometimes. I miss going into the mines and taking over the mines. Yeah. We get additional resources. This will help us in the long run. It's like, right now, you're lucky if you can get to the mine to get the achievement before the game's over.
I know. It's like even going, like the quests you get at lower level when you first start Alterac Valley, just to run down and grab that flag.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that now because quite often it's over. Like, I don't want to see it going back to, like, the vanilla days when they had, 2-day battles in Alterac Valley.
Yes, that was, just so disheartening. And nobody wanted to quit because it's like, we might win in the next 10 minutes. I don't want to ruin this invested time.
Exactly, but...
you know what I actually wouldn't mind seeing them do for that?
When they're a half an hour long, that's just about perfect.
I prefer a quicker game than a half hour, but that's only because I don't know how much longer I can keep playing in a given time these days. But what I would like to see is them come up with just a single instance zone for the PvP stuff so that you can be the one actual player in an Alterac Valley pseudo-instance sort of thing You actually summon the big guy. You actually do the stuff. You actually help take a tower, and that way you get a feel for what it's like being in the zone. You know where everything is without worrying about, is some guy going to gank me from behind? And I think that would be very fun. A nice little bit of they keep the lore in there, and that way the instances or the PvP zones remain smooth, cleaned, and then no one has to worry about the lost content that is currently happening. But I don't know how to make my voice properly heard by the blues over in the forum, so I can't properly give the idea out to them.
I think posting a good idea in the forums actually hurts it, because then they're worried, because they used to have a suggestion forum that they got rid of, and they talked about, there's liability things, like if someone makes a suggestion and then we do it, then they're saying, you're taking my idea.
And despite the fact it wouldn't be too hard to put in the end-user license agreement, anything posted in this forum,
it must be there.
Plus, it took 3 expansions almost to put more than one mailbox in Stormwind. So,
I know.
And you would have thought that was something really easy. It's like, we'll put a mailbox in every little,
That's
square.
That's why I like Thunder Bluff so much. Is it was surprisingly compact and efficient. And you only really needed the one mailbox because everything was fairly well lined up, and although it was a roundabout type area, all you really needed was all just one long line.
Yeah, I remember that. I had a couple of alts who sat in Thunder Bluff and just took mail.
It was pretty good
stuff. Don't
stuff.
forget, in vanilla, Stormwind wasn't that popular because everything was happening in Ironforge, which had the only auction house.
Yes.
And Ironforge has lots of mailboxes, but
they
come Cataclysm and they smushed everything into Orgrimmar and Stormwind.
But you know what? I absolutely hated that.
Died.
My computer was not powerful enough to properly run all those people doing all this stuff. I had to avoid Orgrimmar except for the very, very bad off hours. Otherwise, I'd be lucky if I got 1 frame a minute in there. Because my poor old computer, it was 8 years old, and that was just not even top of the line when it was new.
Well, that's why I'm glad my top level Horde player is a mage.
Oh,
because I could just put her wherever it was convenient. And I usually would do all the business stuff in Silvermoon City because there was no one there.
Yes.
That was back when there'd be like 3 people in all of Silvermoon City, which is too bad because it's beautiful.
It is absolutely wonderful. So that's an interesting thing that I think they've learned, that why Silvermoon City was such a good layout, good placement compared to the other cities. Because I remember my first time in Undercity. Drove me mad. Just crazy. The only way I managed to get out was eventually finding that back entrance in and going out the sewer way.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out where the elevators were anymore. I got so lost. It was just a badly designed area.
Whereas the actual layout of the city was so easy to get around. Getting out and in.
Before you learn, it's like, okay, you need to go up here, around, and there, and it's in the back, and look for the guards. Oh, it was just maddening.
And that brings back talk about World PvP. Is one of the best things about Wrath of the Lich King was when they put in the achievements for killing the leaders in the capitals. And there was always great raids on cities. Those I found were a lot of fun. And then Cataclysm launched and everyone starts crying, oh, you've killed World PvP with flying mounts. And I'm like, are you joking? You can fly into Stormwind Keep with a 40-person raid and no one will touch you until you land. No one was doing that. I was envisioning gigantic winged raids, like several...
Yeah, they're diving.
Several different parties hitting different areas of the city and massive battles. I'm thinking, wow, flying mounts and Azeroth, this is going to be amazing. No one did it, and everybody whined about it.
Oh. And the worst part, I think, was that they also tightened the leashes on some of the bosses, so you can't kite, what's-his-face, from down in the desert, from the Caverns of Time all the way up to Orgrimmar and have them thrash Orgrimmar. You can't do that anymore.
And they had, in the Burning Steps, they had Volchamp.
Yes.
I've still got a screenshot of when I just started the game. I was like maybe a level 17 or 18 Paladin. and it's a screenshot of me standing in Goldshire wondering what the hell is this thing here, and where does it, how often does it show up, and where do I hide?
What's going on? It's beautiful stuff.
And Stitches from Duskwood.
Oh, yeah.
I remember, I did encounter that one.
I actually loved seeing where people managed to mind control High Lord Sorfang throughout the various stuff. Because, you know, the mind control for the priest would last a very long time. And so you'd have him, they'd raid Ogremar just to mind control him and extract him, take him all the way down to the Arcology area and have him attacking things. And just, with his stats, he was just cleaving everything down. It was beautiful stuff. But you don't do that anymore. You can't do that anymore. And it's a little tragic, I think.
I'm totally with you.
And I think if you can kite a person that far or manage to mind control them that far, all the more power to you, buddy. It's not everyone doing it, and it's not really that bad an abuse. You can't take them into an instance. It's just a lot of messy fun. So, congratulations. But I suppose I can also see that, you know, they don't want a bunch of level 5 people dying time and again, thinking this happens all the time. So.
Well, true, but if they were that worried about that, they would make it so that you can't flag in the starting area. Now, I have seen raids on Northshire Valley before, and I'm like, what is the point of this? All you're doing is you're taking a lot of potentially brand new players who are dumb enough to get themselves flagged because they don't know any better. They're thinking, oh, this guy's attacking, I'm going to shoot him, and next thing they know, they're dead, and every time they respawn, they're dead.
That? Yeah.
And first of all, I'm thinking, okay, what's the mentality of people who are raiding level 1 zones? Because they never got that. People who are like level 70, 80, 90, and they want to go around one-shotting level 10s. But I think one thing that would make the game a lot more fun is if PvP flagging was level specific for a zone. Like, say if you're in a level 10 to 20 leveling zone, unless you're between level 10 and 20, you can't flag for PvP combat.
Makes interesting sense.
Because I think it would be so much fun if, like, level 10, like, you could take, say, a bunch of level 15 to 20 Alliance and, you know, take the boat to Ratchet and do a raid on Crossroads. I
do miss the Crossroads raids.
And then, you know, okay, well, they raided Crossroads, so you gather up a group of level 15, 16s in Orgrimmar, you take the boat cross, and you raid Goldshire or Wetlands or something like that. That would be fun. But it's no fun when you take that. You could take like 30 level 15s into Crossroads, and you're killing everything. 185 shows up and just starts firing arrows into everyone.
Everyone drops.
Yeah. That's no fun, but I think they're missing a real opportunity to bring world PvP out again.
I actually would have liked to see like a non-world PvP style where it's a PvP instance, and it's either, we'll say, Goldshire or the Crossroads. Random chance whenever it goes. You know who's on offense, you know who's on defense. Run it that way.
You can do that now with their scenarios.
Oh,
I mean, they haven't done a scenario like this, but when they were first talking about them, that's one of the things they brought up. They said, well, it could be, you know, a raid on Goldshire, for instance, where you're leading a 10-man raid to, you know, sack the town or whatever. And I would love if they put those instances or those scenarios in. Okay, we're going to do you can do a Goldshire raid or a Crossroads raid.
I like some of the really weird things that you see people do. Like you'd get like an entire guild starting up 40 new alts on a server, all gnomes, all level 1, and they'd all go over to Telwyn Forest and attack Hogger and see if they can take them down while they're all still level 1.
You can't even kill Hogger anymore.
I know,
he gets arrested.
Well, apparently he's the boss over in the dungeon now.
Oh, okay.
So, at least that's what I've been told. I haven't been back in there since they revamped it. But
would that be Dead Mines? Or?
No, it's just the one in Stormwind, the Stockades.
Oh, the Stockades. Okay, so Hogger gets in the Stockades. Well, that makes sense as a story.
Yeah.
I liked the way Hogger worked when I played it, but I can see it working a different way.
I kind of liked the new way on how you can actually get in there without having to force your way through Stormwind to get there if you're Horde. I remember being level 85, stripping down just at the border of the town, and corpse hopping my way just to get to the stockades.
And
that
even still, it was a lot easier than getting into not Wailing Caverns. What's the one under Urgamar?
Ragefire.
Ragefire Chasm.
Yes. Although I noted for the Alliance, a lot more people utilized Ragefire Chasm as a nice area to go in, relax, buff themselves up, teleport people in, and then make their attack as they come swarming out. Which, if you actually made that NPC Trogs, would have been an interesting, random thing to happen in the city. Oh no, they're swarming up, you gotta kill them. They're not powerful.
Great. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just a whole bunch of little things like that.
And you could do the same thing in Stormwind, where the prisoners would break out of the stockade and start running around the city.
Yeah, exactly. And then you could even have a nice little thing about, okay, the Defias are using this as a chance to go about and try and gank some of the NPCs. You gotta try and keep them alive, otherwise they'll be assassinated.
Yeah.
And then, bam, there's a nice world, non-PvP, but it's a nice world event.
Yeah, it kind of similar to the plague at the start of Wrath of the Lich King.
I love that, yes.
That was another thing where it was a great idea that just wasn't quite executed right. Because essentially what happened, unless you had a max level character that was decently geared, you couldn't play for about 4 days.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw some things that were great, like, we had a giant group of paladins gather in front of the cathedral, and we were, spamming it out on trades, like, come to the cathedral at Stormwind, we've got paladins, we'll keep you cleansed, and we had set up the safe zone that we were able to protect, but at the same time, there were people who, I just bought World of Warcraft, and they're on their level 12 alt, or not alt, they're level 12 main, and they just can't play because you're getting killed like that every time. When
I started with City of Heroes, I came in during an event like that. The evil villain Nemesis was launching attacks in several zones. But the creatures you're fighting, the evil underlings, they were dependent on your level. So I was dealing as much damage on them with my low-level guy as a max character was dealing when they attacked too. So everybody wound up being useful. And so I think would be a nice lesson for them to utilize is a non-level NPC that everyone winds up being equally effective against.
Now, I'm not sure if it's going to come out this expansion, but probably next expansion in Warcraft, they're talking about doing that with dungeons, where, you could be a level 90, but say you want to run Wailing Caverns,
it's just as challenging?
20. Yeah, they will. I don't know if they're going to scale the dungeon up or scale you down, but you'll be able to go in and run it. And that, I think, will really add a lot of depth to the game.
And it'll help a lot of people who are leveling out. Because then it's like, well, dude, get to your max level and then we'll hang out. No, everyone goes together. Everyone has a better time of it.
And I think what we're going to see, this is just my prediction, I think we're going to see the end of the leveling in Warcraft, where you will have gated content, where you have to progress this far in the story before it opens up to you.
They are doing that in a lot of the other games, and it's meeting a good amount of success that way.
Because really, it's like, I was telling you, I think in the pre-show talk, how, Cataclysm dragged on. I wound up with, 6, 7, 8 level 85s, and then Pandaria launches, and I'm like, really? I've got to get all these to level 90? And it was just, it's not that I mind leveling. Questing's my favorite part of the game, but there is always that pressure to get to max level
and then
start your game. And what you're doing is you're skipping a whole bunch of stuff by finding that fastest path there, so you can move along with the rest of the guild.
Go straight for the looking for group, spend the next 5 levels doing nothing but instances. Rah!
And if they get rid of that and they just say, well, there's this raid, and they can approach it almost like they do on the orange items.
Oh, the legendary.
The legendary
Oh,
quests. Okay, you have to go through this progression on this quest in order to get that legendary item. And they can do the same thing, whereas if you don't go through this quest line, you don't get to take part in that raid. And it's following the story that gets you to the end of the story rather than just hitting some artificial point and then doing dailies until you have enough gear to hop into that instance. It makes much more sense from the point of view of what an RPG is supposed to be. It's supposed to be you are playing through a story and you are working towards an end, and there are challenges put before you. And it makes sense because you're playing through the story to get to that raid, and then when you... I mean, we're doing that now, but it's just not in a logical way. I mean, put yourself back in medieval times, you're a knight, and okay, there's a fair maiden being held in the castle. You don't go to a village and kill 20 hogs every day for 30 days, and then finally you've earned enough money to buy the Shield of Eternal Destiny or whatever. No, you plow through all these challenges till you get to that castle, and along the way you pick up things, and then you rescue the maiden.
Well, I suppose in the medieval romances, they would do something like, spend 1,000 days in a dungeon or something like that. But, it takes that long, that sentence, to tell that story. You don't actually play through it.
For a little over 3 years, sort of thing, Yeah,
like, you don't ride up to the castle and, look at your sword and go, wow, I'll never get her out with this. I'm going to go PvP for a month and I'll get purple swords and purple this and purple that, and then I'll come back and I'll kick his ass.
Of course, mind you, there was always the alternative thing. If anyone out there ever remembers the Flintlock series of stuff, it was like a cartoon they used with images from WoW, dealing with a dwarf named Flintlock. And one of the first things was that he winds up sending a letter to the mayor of Red Ridge saying, I took a quest that told me to kill some of the spiders to save your village from their poisonous bites. However, since I took that, I have gained so many levels, the rewards are now worthless to me, and I think I should tell you I am not going to be killing your spiders. Thankfully, your local hero, Flintlock. And then he just leaves. It's like, well, the rewards just aren't worth it for me. I'm too high level, so I don't care about these spiders attacking. The quest is gray for me. I'm abandoning. I'm out, man.
And you want to know what the best part of the joke behind that is? Fargo Flintlock in Cataclysm, he is named after the lead quest designer for Warcraft.
He became that because he was doing so much stuff with his Flintlock cartoon series.
Really?
Yeah. I encourage you guys to look it up if you can find it. It's wonderfully done.
Yeah, we'll
what
put a link in.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's 2 links because he did a second bit that involves Horde too, but it's all very funny, very nicely done, and that got his attention with the higher ups, and he got hired on.
Oh. And that poor guy was sent out to explain to people that there was no faction favoritism last week. Boy, did that guy have a bad weekend.
Yeah.
With the reaction from that.
On the other hand, eventually, I believe that at Blizzard, somebody has to become a scapegoat when things go bad, and you wind up taking the brunt of it. For the team, though.
It's not going to be Ghostcrawler.
No. He's got photos on somebody. He doesn't need to be the tank for those...
Ghostcrawler and Metzen are going to be the last ones to go down on that ship. And it's just as well, because he's the best. He's the one it's the best.
I mean, Metzen's artwork defined exactly what the entire game's like now. I mean, that's one of the reasons I got into it, was I remember seeing some artwork and going, wow, this is really good stuff. What's it about? Warcraft? I got to learn more about this. I said by the same guys that did Blizzard, I think I remember this artwork. Next thing you know, I'm playing in the game. So, any which way that leads you in is a good way. But, okay, so now they've made several changes. They got rid of the whole point trees as they previously existed, which was, let's face it, a relic of the Diablo 2 game.
Yeah, and it's just as well. Like, could you imagine having 90 talent points now?
Well, maybe on some of the older trees where you had to put 3 points in to get spec'd out wonderfully with axes and 3 points more to get spec'd out with another weapon, But on the current ones... what I really like, what they seem to have done, was made it like, okay, doesn't matter which one of these choices you make, they're all good. So just take which one you like the most, and you're equally valid rating or dungeoneering character as everyone else. And I was okay with that, at least in concept. Unfortunately, I haven't gone back in since they did it, so I don't know how it plays out. Whether or not you really have to have your mage be able to sheep 2 mobs instead of just 1, otherwise you're not fit for the raid.
The way they've done it now, the best way I could describe it is those things don't really matter anymore.
It's all flavor, it's all fluff, it's all whatever you decide for your character, and I'm okay with that. It sounds like you can be who you want to be and not have to worry about whether or not you're still effective that way. And that sounds good. That sounds very good.
Yeah, because there was, we always used to joke about, if they ever did make a Warcraft movie, would they have, like, when you're about to, assault a castle or something, would you always have that smart-ass guy played by David Spade that's pointing, saying, oh, you're not spec for this, and, oh, you can't do this, and you don't have the sword of eternal damnation.
I saw you fight. You're not a tank. You get in the back with the rest of the group.
Yeah.
I imagine a Warcraft movie for that reason would not be very much like the game experience.
Well, yeah, would you have, like, half-naked night elves dancing on top of mailboxes? Someone sitting in the middle of the town square looking for 2 more for dead mines?
I actually would laugh if just in the background of one scene they had an elf dancing around on the mailbox.
If they ever do that, they will. They have to put it, because Blizzard is they love putting pop culture references into the game.
Oh, yeah.
And they actually almost went too far in Cataclysm,
where
every second quest it seemed was like,
at least named to be humorous.
Yeah.
I noticed that did actually stop me sometimes, and was like, oh, another pop culture. Okay, this is from. Okay, I know what they're referencing here.
Try playing Alliance through.
Is this in Cataclysm?
Twilight Highlands.
Twilight Highlands.
It was one long joke.
Oh.
And that's what ticked off a lot of people, because the Horde introduction to Twilight Highlands was amazing.
We're getting shot down. We got to get this here. We got to go.
The Alliance was a joke from quest number 1, and
which is not to say jokes aren't appreciated. The goblins.
Once in a while, they're really cool.
The goblins it worked well with. I mean, they were almost a tongue-in-cheek parody at some points of Jersey Shore, which I'm glad is off the air and will wind up becoming an outdated reference soon. But when they played it as comedy, it worked. Maybe because of the goblins' exaggerated nature and their style, but
goblins and gnomes were always meant to be comical characters.
Yes, yeah.
So I think it worked with him. It wouldn't have worked with Worgen. It would have sounded really strange, actually, because the Worgen were very gothic.
Well, they did always have that repeating joke about the werewolf at the top hat, and that's so dapper you just have to play him. Yeah. My God, it brings a tear to my eye.
No, my Worgen priest still wears his top hat.
Nice. Well, actually, that brings me to another thing. I've noticed, because although I'm not playing, I am going into the WoW head and I'm looking at the new sets. Do you think they're slacking off on armor design these days compared to what they used to?
Ever since, because they're looking at transmogrification, right?
Oh, yes.
And I think they're looking and saying, everyone's transmogging it back to old tier sets. Why are we going to spend a lot of money on and
a lot of time, a lot of effort getting it?
Because it's not being said so much now because we're at the height of an expansion. But earlier in the expansion, people were complaining a lot that the character models weren't getting updated. Yeah. So I think their art department is heavily invested right now in character updates because they won't get away with another expansion without character updates.
Which is going to be good. I'm going to appreciate the updated models. I do recall for the Cataclysm looking at the gear you got from doing the regular in 5 minutes. It says, looking at the warrior stuff and going, my God, that's ugly. That is just blasphemously just crude. And it's like, transmog, okay, fine. I'm hitting the Outlands and I am going to just stomp on every major enemy there until I get my tier 6 where it actually looks like it's something warrior might conceivably wear in reality.
But the first month or two when they came out with transmog, it was just you're looking at transmog and thinking, wow, we're going to have such a different variety. No, you're not. You're going to have, like, you'd be in Stormwind and you have 80 paladins running around in judgment gear, which people are like, oh, it's amazing. I'm like, really? It's got that Rock'em Sock'em Robots look to it. It's very chunky, very old looking. And when, I'm sure a lot of people thought, oh, I'm going to be the only person doing this. I'm so unique. No, you're not.
You're like
you're like the guy with those Celtic tattoos on his arms. Like, oh man, isn't this like 8 million other people?
Yeah, but it's like the troll with that Zandalar mask. Every one of them has it, especially the spellcasters, because that makes you look like a cool troll, man. No, you're not the only one. Everyone's doing that.
No, I went and looked for stuff that. Okay, I'll admit I did the black mage weave on my blood elf mage, but
By the way,
it suits her personality.
Does not look as good on a goblin. I've noted.
No, not quite.
Apparently, it's meant for the leaner body types. For the cheesecake.
Dwarf females, no, it doesn't work quite as good on those.
Those might just be problems with the models and how everything is proportioned out. The Black Mage Weave, though, is admittedly a little embarrassing sometimes to be caught in.
Well, true. Especially if you're a male character.
Well, that's the thing, is it looks completely different for the males. People will recognize it, but it doesn't look like you're running around in lingerie.
Well, basically, my Blood Elf mage looks like she's running around in her tabard.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. But a Blood Elf female looks good running around in a tabard.
Yeah.
A dwarf
it
female,
beats some of the other looks.
So much.
Yeah. But for the while, for my spellcaster, I had them running around in the Valentine's Day gown with a nice heart-shaped back, cut out of it. Because you know what? If I'm running around in a dress, it's going to be the most amazingly sexy dress this guy can find. Why not? Transmog.
Yeah, and they did put limits on what you could transmog.
Yeah.
And I understand that, because as much as I would love to run a dungeon tanked by an orc wearing a wedding dress, I could see why that might look a little ridiculous after a while, because, let's face it, the player base of Warcraft...
Because then everybody's going to be wearing a wedding dress.
They would all do it.
Special.
Look at
Except the one guy with the tuxedo.
It took them 7 years to stop at the Chuck Norris jokes.
Yes, thankfully.
And even those last few who did it, they thought they were hilarious. And so, yeah.
But it's a bit of a shame that you can't do whatever you like, because I had, for my Tauren, I actually hunted down the Greys. The Greys that are the blue overalls, the Greys that are the plaid shirt, the Greys that get you the hoe and the spade sort of thing, and the straw hat, and I actually could dress myself up and look like a farmer. But I can't transmog my stuff into that because they're mostly Greys, so it's like, oh!
But at least we have the equipment manager, so that with a click we can change outfit.
That's kind of nice, I do appreciate that.
So I have my jeans and like my warlock. She wears cut-off jeans and a torn T-shirt. But that's, underneath all that is a full
set of
gear.
Like, I had a nice thing for my Blood Elf guy. I liked doing the Warlock stuff for a while, but then I decided, you know what, no, I'm focusing elsewhere. This is getting a little boring for me. It's a little slow. I'll come back to it when I have the time and inclination. So he'll just be one of my bank calls. And so I had the nice little button, it actually was a macro before that, where I pushed the button and he'd change, and all of a sudden, bam, he's in his pimp suit style. He just walk around through the city, just nice and slow and leisurely, looking all the world like the classiest man you can find.
Now, if you could find, and I'm sure they have it in the game somewhere, a hat with a wide brim and a feather in it,
I think there was one with
throw that on a goblin.
It was the zebra striped hat, I think it was, that had that. It was beautiful. And I do want to get that for my goblin, because right now I've left her sitting around in the Christmas outfit.
Oh.
And anybody looking that character up, it's like, ooh, this guy was not taking his character seriously.
No.
She's got 2 daggers and a Christmas outfit, but she got the hat honestly, so that's kind of like the feather in her proverbial cap there. Honest hat, so.
Yeah, I was so glad when Transmog came along, because then you didn't have to put up with whatever their art department came up with, because sometimes it wasn't that great. I remember...
The Warlock stuff tended to be really sweet, but...
I had my Paladin in his PvP gear at the end of Burning Crusade, and he looked amazing. He had these shiny shoulders and great plate armor on. And then I got him up to about 76, 77 in Wrath of the Lich King, and I got the best gear I could for him, and he really looked like an armored FedEx guy.
Yeah.
It was like all gray, very boring and bland, and
I do remember one point at level 65 over in the Grand, looking at my character and going, my God, this is a clown suit I'm wearing. No 2 pieces match. But the thing was is that I actually spent the time back in the original Vanilla WoW to hunt down a full set of this item. I was like level 40, I think it was, for the item stuff, and I got the complete set stylized out, and I got a few pictures of him just, looking all boss in his complete set, even though he was level 50 and there was a level 40 set. But it looked so much better, even though it was under-geared for me. So there's something to be said about hunting down those obscure sets that most people aren't going for. There's
right now,
I'd like to find the rest stuff, too. It almost looked like I was a walking... like Chinese pagoda. The shoulder pads were just so tiered and colored. I wanted to see the rest of the outfit.
Oh, like the PvP gear I have for my Death Knight, the 403 gear. She wears these, and she's a gnome. So,
so it's all weirdly
gnome Death Knights look great, because especially when you have the icy rune in their sword. So it leaves this little spark behind it.
Yeah.
So when she's got the 2-hander on her back and she's running along, it looks like her sword's hitting the ground and sparking. But she's got these gigantic shoulders. Each shoulder is about the size of her head, and it's got these little pots that have a fire burning out of the top of them. And yeah, that whole character, who turned out to be one of my main characters, but she was rolled for comic effect, because when the Death Knights first came out, everyone was making these deep, dark names and trying to be all badass, and I said, I'm going to make the least Death Knighty Death Knight. So I thought, okay, it's going to be a female gnome, pink pigtails. I named her Snuggлекins. And I just had so much fun with her, because I realized, okay, actual size means nothing in Warcraft. Character versus character. So I would gear her up to the max, and when they first came out with Tauren Paladins...
Oh, I want to do that.
Because guys who like the big, badass characters, they have either Taurens or Orcs. And when you'd get a Tauren Paladin or an Orc warrior with 2 big 2-handers, when they're getting chopped to death by a tiny little pigtailed gnome who keeps spamming giggle as she chops them up, it is gotta be humiliating and aggravating to the max for them. So that's why.
That is why I loved my old troll rogue. I eventually deleted him, but I had some macros on there for him for his the cycle of damage, and I had the put in for him laughing. So every time he winds up doing the crit stabs on you, he's laughing at you and that's just part of the macro. And it seemed to drive the Alliance people just berserk. They would target me. I'd be completely useless, because they'd all be going after me, because how dare he laugh at me while I do it. I effectively, won some of the PvP areas, because everyone was going after me for vengeance as opposed to tactics, so it turned out to be good, but not for me.
No.
I was good for the team that way, but yeah, you can really annoy people sometimes with that little stuff.
Now, I'm not sure if I remember this correctly, but does it cost less to repair lower level armor?
Yes.
It can actually be an advantage.
And the PvP stuff, when you die, doesn't get deteriorated that way. So
you still take damage during PvP, but not by the other players. When you jump and you take damage, you fall or anything like that, that still accumulates damage. But getting hit with swords and dying, no.
No.
Okay.
That's a nice thing. Otherwise, you'd have a bunch of broke PvPers just because they're really bad at it.
Well, and it's the best way to gear up without spending money.
Yes.
Now, the way they've changed gear in Pandaria, it's not nearly the same penalty by going into a dungeon with PvP gear. PvP gear does have PvE stats on it now.
Yes.
You don't want to... I mean, you can still tank with it, but you have to factor in, I haven't found PvP gear with dodge and parry on it. Mind you, you get a lot of block from mastery, so
yes.
that mitigates it somewhat. But you got to realize that, eye level 460 in crafted PvP gear, you got to look at, that's actually about eye level 440 for a tank. But still, DPS and stuff like that, I did a lot of Cataclysm stuff in PvP gear, and purple DPS or purple PvP stuff still better than blues.
Yes.
From PvE.
And admittedly, some of the PvP stuff looks a lot better. Like even the old 60 stuff, level 60 stuff, the original vanilla things, just so oversized and comical. You want to get that just for the transmogs. It's so compensatory. It's farcical. It's beautiful.
They won't let you do it with the weapons from level 60. They say, because the people who earned it back then will get mad. And I'm like, since when have you really worried about what? And
well, the thing is, they can now that you're max level, you can effectively buy it really, really cheap. So the weapons mean very little, but it just looks.
But a lot of these weapons, like for a hunter, the best bows to get as you're leveling up are still the PvP bows.
Yeah.
And the level 60 PvP bows, both Horde and Alliance, are some of the nicest bows you can get. I don't like I don't like a rifle. It just doesn't feel right.
You know what I actually really like is something like a chain gun. Very low damage, but super high speed. So you're just rattling them off as you go.
Now that should be a goblin item.
Yes. Or no, well, actually with Flintlock in as an official character now, might work well for some particularly addled dwarves. But it would be nice to see some variations on the theme as opposed to, just...
Like you could have a boss who had this, cranking Gatling gun style thing that hung from a great big strap on his shoulder, and when you kill him, he drops that.
That's the one for the hunters. That's the hunter weapon they can really go for, yes. That would be just a whole lot of fun to play.
Or have a Gatling gun on a tripod that with a 5-minute cooldown that you can set up in PvP in Alterac Valley.
I could dig that too.
You get about a 15-second burst out of the thing, and you can use that for holding that bridge.
Just for a little bit.
Because even if I was running up against it, I'd be dying, but I'd be looking and going, damn, that's pretty cool.
You know what I actually found to be a very good PvP item? The pony cake you get from the Brewfest. You put it down, and even if the other guys can't click on it, everyone tries to get the free beer, and you wind up just circling them in, then it's an AoE.
Nice.
And, well, apparently that's the battleground people I fight. They wind up being as tactically unaware as you might ever hope for. And so, and then once they're all dead, you dance on their corpses, teabag, whatever you want to do, then grab yourself some beers. Victory beers, and off you go. And then you do the PvP drunk.
I just want to take a moment to remind our listeners that we have an email address, thesimulationist@gmail.com. If we've said anything that that you think deserves further discussion, you can write in and give us your thoughts. You can also comment on the YouTube page, youtube.com/thesimulationist, our Facebook page, and anywhere else you find this podcast. And there's a box to write comments in. Go ahead and do that. We hit the 90-minute mark, so we're just going to get final thoughts here of World of Warcraft and the discussion that we've had.
We actually didn't talk about Pandaria, did we?
It was mentioned time and again. This is a nice example of how Blizzard's learned from its previous mistakes, what the players have, their desires have changed. The questing is no longer the same as it was initially. The repeat dailies are no longer what they were originally.
And it's a much broader game than it used to be. There's so many more options available to people. I mentioned about the Pandas. They don't do it for me. I have a hard time getting into that story. But also underneath that, there's that Horde versus Alliance thing, which is really heating up. They've hit it with 2 levels. It's like you could play the Panda thing out and then walk away from it and just do Horde versus Alliance, or you can keep going the Panda.
I do like the various options of equal validity. It does allow everybody, or at least more people, to do what they want. So Blizzard, I gotta say, as corporations go, really does pay attention to its player base. And I think if you're a person in the industry, they're somebody to watch and imitate.
Yeah.
Because they learn, they pay attention, at least not to everybody. There's a lot of stuff on the forums nobody should ever need to see.
No. And, and also you got to look at, as bad as you think Blizzard's, community can be, the forums and trade chat and whatever, all you have to do is go play Rift and read their community or any of the others, or see what goes on in EVE Online, and you would be, aching for the relative sanctuary of the Blizzard forums.
That's one of the reasons I do also miss the City of Heroes, is apparently their forums were just full of so many people willing to help. Apparently being a hero really galvanizes you, so that even when you're not in there and you're on their forums, you still have the I am a hero and I can help sort of mentality. Something I actually wouldn't mind seeing Blizzard take up, because when I first started playing City of Heroes, I realized when I was being the hero in Warcraft, I didn't feel as much like a hero as I did in the City of Heroes.
Yeah, unfortunately I think that the whole nature of, clicking one button and getting a random group has taken some of that away. Like, even out in the world, like, I still try and make a point. If I see someone and I'm on, a paladin or a druid or mage or something, I'll throw a buff. Even if they can't really use it, it's just a way of saying, hey.
See, that's the thing, is I was never in the
People
PvP.
Don't do that anymore.
I was never in the PvP zone, so whenever I found an Alliance member seemed to be struggling, I'd help out, I'd follow them, I'd play, the guy who's just off of the way there. Whenever they seem to be getting overwhelmed, bam, I help out, and then I go back into hiding, and I see their reaction. I really liked that. That was what really got me interested, even though technically it's against the lore and the style to be helping the enemy.
I don't think so, because, if you talk to veterans, like, say, the Second World War and stuff, I think you'd find that meeting so-called the enemy one-on-one out in the middle, when you're not in an organized battle or something, would probably, as often as not, result in a hey, how are you, thing than a gun battle.
So I was role-playing it right then. Woot woot.
Probably. I mean,
right.
You are looking at that other player as just another player trying to get by like you. Whereas in that world, you would also be looking at that as like, hey, this person isn't hurting me, but this is another human being or another sentient being.
That said, the people who did try to attack me, I would, flag and then just start mowing them down. But very few people actually tried that. We were on an RP server, though, so maybe that explains the reactions.
Yeah. But I think a lot of that's gone.
Yeah, it has diminished, I have noted, as the various additions have been added on.
I'm not giving up. I'm still going to buff everyone I see. I'm going to help out people in trouble.
I mean, hell, that was one of the best parts of being a pally. It was, just run around throwing buffs until you're out of mana.
I used to love seeing someone die, and I'm like, I can resurrect that guy. And then you go over there and you resurrect him, they'll be like, wow, thanks.
Oh, you saved me such a run.
Now, I see someone die, I resurrect them, they look at me, and they turn around, and they walk away, and it's like, excuse me.
Yeah. And you know what? You didn't even need to be that much. When I was helping out the Alliance guys, all I really liked seeing was them do 2 hops up, and then off they go again.
Yeah.
Because that's their way of saying, thank you.
Yeah, because you can't communicate.
I assume. I don't know if that's what they mean.
No, when I was helped by Hardy, that's what I do. I, do a little jump or a bow or a twirl, whatever.
Yeah. And that's all that's really asked most times, so... Hopefully the Blizzard can find a way to work that in without changing things too much back, because they're always a company that looks forward.
Right. Well, we have listeners, and maybe they will take that into consideration next time they're playing World of Warcraft. Very good. Okay, so I think that's going to be... Oh, you want one more point?
One more thing is for next week, who watches The Watchmen? Josh and I do.
Oh, next week's podcast, we're going to talk about The Watchmen.
We're going to watch The Watchmen. Josh has never seen it. He's never read the book. We're going to find out how well it plays to a novice mind in this respect.
And can I do a shout out to the guilds?
Yes.
Okay, if you're playing Alliance, go to Velen and look for Honor Bound. If you're Horde, we're on Hydraxis. It's 10-ton hammer. And we're both guilds are looking for players, and we raid, we PvP. You do what you want. Basically, it's just nice people, no drama, chill out, relax, enjoy the game.
It's like trade chat, but without all the stupid.
It's nothing like trade chat.
Oh, okay.
We
yeah,
ban
there's
people
all
for
that.
being like trade chat.
Fair enough.
It's like general chat.
Oh, okay. For those who actually still use general chat, my old server was very bad at anyone using anything except trade.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
Take care.
Take care. I've been Josh 11, and
I'm Ryan Kirkby.
I'm Troy.
okay, thanks everybody. Send us money.